We're talking music now, and we are celebrating a movie that came out when I was around 5th or 6th grade, so everybody had to see it. It won a ton of awards. It is the movie Amadeus, and it is being re-emerged right here on Guam. We're going to celebrate the music of it, and fortunately, we are joined by Dr. Stephen Bednarczyk, of course, with the Guam Symphony Society, and a new friend of ours, Dr. Elizabeth Susan Suarez. Doctors, welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'm also the only one on set without a PhD, but that's totally cool. You certainly have earned it. And both in music.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
so Steve, we know your qualifications, everything very, very well spoken and well played, I guess.
Thank you very much.
And Doctor, you are a concert and a solo pianist, as I understand.
Well, I'm going to play solo piano with the orchestra.
But she also has a degree in choral conducting, and she's been the choral clinician for the Guam Symphony Chorale for the last 2 weeks. since she's
Wonderful.
been here. So, and so we got a 2-for-1 deal with her. It's very, very nice.
Now, of course, I must say, you know, being a child of the 80s, everybody thinks of Amadeus, the movie, and they think of Falco, the song, Amadeus.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how most of us learned how to speak conversational German.
Yeah.
For anybody out there that gets this reference, you're probably cracking up right now. But the music itself is very timely, very classical, literally and figuratively. And
Yeah.
how can you describe that music from that period?
Well, it's from the classical period. You know, there's 6 style periods in Western music. So it came right after the Baroque era, which was Bach and Handel, like the Messiah, and before Beethoven and Tchaikovsky and those guys. So it's a very kind of refined, well-balanced type of music, very evenly balanced, with even balanced phrases. The orchestras are a little smaller, so you have an orchestra mainly of strings, and the woodwinds are used to kind of color the strings, so they're not really soloistic. And then the brass and percussion, when they're in an orchestra, are kind of used to reinforce the harmonies, more than play a crucial role in like melody stuff, like you would in late romantic music. And so, you know, it's a very kind of refined type of music.
Now, Dr. Suarez, what makes this type of playing so challenging? Because, of course, music has evolved or devolved, depending on how you look at it over the years, with chord progressions and arrangements and everything like that. And music back then were very long pieces, too.
The one thing about classical music is you've got to pay attention to symmetry and form. And at this time, you've got to let the melodic line sing, while the others take a lower, you know, not lower, but it's lesser in.
Almost like they take it like a backseat to you, hence the soloist part.
No, I'm talking about the music itself, where the melodic line comes out, should sing some more than the other parts.
Got it. How long is the piece, or the pieces
like
that you'll be playing?
20.
Well, so the piece she's playing on piano is the Romanza from the Piano Concerto Number 20. And at the end of the movie, I don't know if you remember at the very end, Salieri was in a wheelchair and he's going, "Mediocrity, I absolve you." And da 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 da. She's playing that slow movement from the concerto. So that's about 8 minutes long. Also with the chorale, she's been working on the Requiem. Now the Requiem was a work that Mozart got commissioned for at the end of his life, and he thought if he finished, he might die himself. He never finished it. One of his students finished it too. So we're doing 5 selections from the Requiem, the opening and a few selections from the Requiem. That lasts about 20 minutes itself too.
There's also a really good episode of The Simpsons, if anybody doesn't want to go back and watch the movie, where you can actually get up to speed on the story between Amadeus and Salieri.
That's true, and also it was referenced in Family Guy.
What is it? We're probably lampooned in Family. I would actually be honored to tell you the truth.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, so this is a fantastic concert, and the movie came out in 1984, so it's actually 30 years old, if you can believe that.
My goodness.
Yeah, I know. It was a Milos Forman film. It ran a little over 2 hours, and the original play was from 1979 by Peter Shaffer, and it was turned into a movie. The actual concept of Mozart and Salieri being jealous of Mozart, came from 1830, a play by Alexander Pushkin, a Russian playwright. So, you know, the story idea has been around for a long time. But it's going to be a really fun concert. We're going in chronological order with the movie. So we're going to have, kind of an image from the movie, and there'll be a little thing you can kind of read along and know what's going along with the pieces of music. And so as the movie progresses, or has progressed, that's the way the music's going to go. So it's not going to be out of order completely.
Milos Forman also did, of course, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and later on The People versus Larry Flint.
Yes,
so
those are 2 actually very interesting and very good movies.
really, really good movies.
Yeah.
I believe also he did the Andy Kaufman movie.
Oh, yes,
with,
yes. Man on the Moon, yeah.
Man on the Moon,
yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so lay out the story exactly. So, the music, of course, is very fitting to the story. So maybe in 30 seconds, give us the idea of, like the story of Amadeus and the plot.
Well, I mean, essentially, Salieri is a court composer in Vienna, and he's well respected. But then comes this little kid who can do everything better than everyone else. So, kind of makes him jealous. And he kind of works through that throughout the movie. put
which
it
is
that
the
way.
premise for most good stories.
Bad.
Well, I must ask. Most musicians would say, like, even those that play neoclassical music, the faster pieces are once you have the technical chops, it gets a little bit easier because if you make a mistake, it's not that obvious. But when you start to slow down and do some of like the slower pieces,
Right.
that's really
It's-
challenging because
yes.
every note takes on so much more value and it has to stand
guess,
and represent it in motion.
You think so?
No, that's very true. They used to say, when you're learning music as a high school student, you play the third movement, the fast movement of a concerto. As you get better, you go to the slow movements because that's when you're more exposed as a musician. So we have some parts of the concert that will expose the orchestra in a good way, put it that way. So we're doing some slow movements. The slow movement of the flute and harp concerto, which is referenced in the movie too. And also a lot of the Requiem has some slow parts to it with the chorale and the orchestra. So there's a variety of different types.
All right. Well, I would say best of luck, but clearly you don't need that because you're both very, very talented and very passionate about music. So we're very happy to have you here, Doctor.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for blessing us with your talent. And Steve, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, and everybody out there, make sure that you go out. I honestly don't know if it's on Netflix or not. It probably is, or Hulu. Go check out Amadeus and, call us up at 994 and request the song by Falcon.